we at? We'll give about 1 more minute. Let me see where we're at. About 1 more minute, then we'll get started and let people trickle on in from there, okay? Righty then, we're sitting here at about 11:05. Think we can go on and get this show on the road. Hi everyone, welcome to today's workshop on how to improve your resume with practical strategies. This webinar is hosted by Grow with Google with a little bit of help from your friends at ChicoSTART. Before we get started, I will introduce myself, and I did want to give a few shout outs to some of our host sponsors. My name is George Bell. I will be your host for today for this Grow with Google. Look forward to getting started. I did want to thank some of our sponsors at Build with Ferguson, Half a Bubble Out, Chico State College of Business, Butte College, MC2, Stovall Coffee, Watershed Media, and Work Truck Solutions. Big thank you to them just for being, without them we couldn't get some of this stuff done and having this Grow with Google today. So yeah, looking forward to getting today started. So again, let's get the show on the road. So today I will show you how you can improve your resume using some simple and practical strategies. Sounds good? So move on right along. We're here today to talk about resumes, y'all. So first, just kind of a little bit of an outline of what we'll go over today is first we'll talk about, which I think is very important, we'll talk about applicant tracking systems. This is an important first hurdle for your resume before it even reaches your recruiters. Applicant tracking systems are pretty much AI that looks at your resume, and we're going to tell you how to make sure that when you're submitting your resume and your employers are putting it into that AI, that you know what to do so it doesn't just throw your resume away, okay? Then we'll take a quick glance at resume evaluation activities. So we'll give a chance to look at some resumes and you kind of go through them and, see what you think as if you were an employer. So hopefully that you can learn from that and you'll be able to decipher when your resume has struggles or not. And then after that, we'll dive into some of our 4 strategies: using professional formatting, highlighting your skills and accomplishments, citing specific examples and measurable details, and tailoring your resume to the job description. All very important things that we want to make sure that we consider this morning. And then we'll drop you off with a few resources from there, practical things that you can take along with you and be able to utilize when you start that resume. All right, so let's take a quick glance at our resume evaluations. Okay. So let's take a minute to think about the purpose of a resume. How much time, on average, do you think employers spend looking at resumes? Now, we got a couple people in here, along with people who will watch this afterwards, this recording. Just take a minute to think about how long do you think it takes employers to look at your resume? So a lot of times you'll hear people, they'll say about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even 30 minutes. We often assume that employers will read our resume from top to bottom, but that's actually rarely the case. Most times an employer spends about 6 to 10 seconds looking at your resume, which I thought was crazy. 6 to 10 seconds, and it takes me, I know it takes me at least an hour to finish my resume, even give it a few updates. So to know the fact that they only look at it for 6 to 10 seconds is crazy. So pretty much with that being said, the goal of a resume is to showcase the skills and accomplishments you have and to make your employer want to call you for an interview. That's essentially what you want to do. So you just want to have those tidbits. You want to make sure that we're following these practical skills be able to at least get the catch the employer's attention. Many companies use applicant tracking systems, what we will talk about, ATS, at the starting point when considering job candidates. ATS is a type of software that sorts through resumes and applications, selecting which ones to pass on to a human recruiter. So ATS helps recruiters by streamlining the review process and allows them to quickly and easily review and identify applicants. Okay, so what does that mean for us? This means that if you want a recruiter to even see your resume, you need to make sure that it gets through ATS. It's very unfortunate that actually, ATS can look at your resume and make thoughtful, I apologize. It can't look at your resume and make a thoughtful or nuanced decision on individual candidates that a human can. So they may wind up eliminating certain resumes due to formatting and other issues that keep you from being able to, get the position that you want simply off just because the AI felt like you didn't have the right format. So what we'll do is go through a few tips on how to solve that problem and rectify that for ourselves, okay? So you want to make sure we're using the right file type, okay? So ATS systems are best able to read docs, PDFs, okay? So if you want to create a resume using Google Docs, 9 times out of 10 you can download it as a doc or a PDF. There's also other ways to do that. So we want to make sure that when we are submitting these resumes, we're using a doc or a PDF, okay? And then when it comes to those ATS systems, we want to make sure that we have our keywords. So we want to keep formatting simple. Since ATS scans resumes for keywords, it can be confused by fancy formatting, graphics, and even tables, multiple columns, and text boxes. So a lot of times we think that we're being fancy and cute, but we're actually making it harder for some of these application tracking systems to be able to read what we got going on, and that can ultimately result us in just getting our resume thrown out. And we'll talk about that a little later on as well. So it's very important that we use keywords from the job description. So these ATS systems are shown the job listings in order to learn which words to seek out in resumes. So when the ATS detects those keywords, relevant skills, years of experience in your resume, it will flag you as a qualified candidate. For this reason, you should adjust your resume to reflect the words used in the job listing. So it's very important that we are using those keywords that we see within the job listing, because when we're working with these AI, it's going to just go through those keywords. If it has it, it'll keep it. If it doesn't, it'll throw it away. Okay? Again, also we want to make sure that we avoid headers and footers, okay? Many times these systems cannot read headers and footers well. So make sure you do not put any critical information like contact information in the header or footer. Okay, very important that we try to refrain from that, because headers and footers, it's just really bad and hard for the ATS systems to read it. Right along here. Okay, so for our people here in the audience, I would love you guys to try to give this give a crack at this activity that we'll do. And also for our viewers on our YouTube channel, we want to make sure that you guys are doing this as you guys follow along on YouTube as well. So pretty much I'm going to show you a few resumes. I want you to use one word to describe the resume. You don't have to shout out to me, just to yourself. You can write it down on a piece of paper or use a document and write it down. A couple words that come to mind when you see a resume, as if you were a person who was looking for an employee. And then I want you to write also yes or no if you would spend more time with this resume. Okay? So for this activity, we're going to be a hiring manager, going to look at a few resumes and see what we would do. And then hopefully we'll learn from that and be able to put it in our resumes as well. Okay? So as I show you a few of these examples, this is essentially the job description that we'll be working with, okay? So we're looking for a sales representative. We seek a high performer to join our sales team. The successful candidate will be a responsible, motivated sales associate with proven experience. This person will manage the entire sales cycle, identifying sales needs, locating and expanding new markets, designing and delivering sales presentations, and proceeding over negotiations to meet or exceed personal and departmental sales goals. You'll need excellent customer service skills, an entrepreneurial worldview, business acumen, and a professional's sales philosophy. Okay, so this is what we're working with. This is what we'll be looking for as we look at these few examples. Okay, so again, remember, we want one word that describes the resume. Yes or no, would you keep looking at this resume or would you just toss it? Okay, so we'll only take about 7 to 10 seconds for each of these resumes. So take a quick scan, take a quick look at it, and keep that note to yourself, okay? If you guys want to put it in the chat, why not? It's up to you. But so we got, I cannot say that name, y'all. Aisha's resume. Ashay's resume. Okay, cool. Okay. Remember to keep your impressions too. All right, let's go on. Okay, here we got Adam. What we think about Adams, y'all? All right, remember, write down your impressions. Would you keep going forward or would you toss it? Shatia says yes for the last one. Okay. How we feel about this one? No? Okay. Okay. All right, let's move right along. Let's see who else we got. Titus. Got our man Titus. Okay. All right, cool. Let's see. What do we think about this one? Titus. No? Okay. Let's move on. We got Jason. Okay, Jason. Okay, okay. No for the last one? I mean, yes for the last one? Okay. We'll see. Liana. How you feel about this one? Yeah? Alright. Alright. Alright, cool. And finally, Ibrahim. Alright. How you feel about this one? Alright. Cool. Alright. So, let's move on from there, which is good. So, we'll talk about a few strategies that we can use, and we'll also use the resumes that we just looked at to be able to kind of give us an example. Okay, yes, I'm not. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, look. So, first, while there's no one right way to write resume, there are many different resume styles and formats that might be appropriate for the job you're applying for. So, we'll focus on 4 things. We want to focus on choosing a professional format, highlighting your skills and accomplishments, using specific examples and measurable details, and finally, tailor your resume to fit the specific job description. Okay? As we do this and look for these things, we will be able to, we'll look at our resumes that we just went through, and we'll kind of use them as examples to see what we like, see what we didn't like, okay? Okay, so let's start with just choosing a professional format. So, the format you choose for your resume may depend on the job you apply for. A traditional resume like Ashay's resume to the left has a standard white background and a classic font and organizational structure. this is good. But for a more creative field, you may want to submit a resume with less traditional design and format, like Ibrahim's to the right. This resume uses more colors, overall has a unique organizational structure, including the career details in 2 separate columns. As you saw in the quick glance from the activity, there are many different ways to write a resume, and none of them are incorrect. But as you reviewed each resume, you must notice several issues. Hiring managers also see during their reviews that can detect or that can make them, not want to keep looking at your resume and not ultimately ask you to come in for an interview. One of the most important things to remember is that your resume should be professional, organized, and easy to read. Having a well-designed resume that's free of errors is extremely important in making a good first impression. So we want to make sure that when we're writing our resume, it's probably top and most important. This will get you your resume tossed the quickest. You want to have white space. So we want to make sure that it's easy to read and it's not just too much words going on. We got white space, so their eyes can adjust and you can make time to actually read all the information. You want simple, readable language, meaning we want to stay away from fonts that are like cursive. We don't want to do too much. We want to just keep it within maybe Arial or Times New Roman, 9 times out of 10, okay? Clear headings. We want to have clear headings. Make sure they're bolded so they know exactly what they're looking at. So it'd be clear and easy to read for each heading. And we want to make sure we have wide margins, okay? Appropriate font, like I said. We want to make sure we use Arial, Times New Roman, okay? So you got this resume from Michelle's, and then in contrast, you have Jason's resume, which is packed with full of information that's not all relevant to the job description. While Jason has selected a legible font type, the lack of white space makes the resume as a whole difficult to read. There's no breaks for the eyes, so this person reading it may feel overwhelmed and distracted rather than impressed. As we see, Jason just got a lot going on, not enough space, just for your eyes to adjust, so you can be able to kind of just be able to take in all the information. Then we also have each of you. So while Jason has, so each of you is multi-talented with different experiences and interests. So there's not so much that you can add to a resume, but it's important to only include details that are relevant to the position you're applying for. So for like Jason, some of the stuff is just not relevant for what we're applying for, which it might be cool, but we just want to make sure that each resume is geared towards who we're trying to get the job from. It's usually not necessary to include additional links to social media profiles or websites. Some exceptions are, if you're applying for a position in the social media management, you might include links that show you have strong social media following. Some designers, writers, and artists may have a website that includes a portfolio. But in hindsight, if you're just going for a professional position, 9 times out of 10, you don't need to add your Twitter or your Instagram. Back here, but again, the most noticeable challenge with this resume is how difficult it is to read. Too much information, too crowded. It might discourage the employer from reading their resume before they even review your experience. So it's very important that when it comes to this structure that we have it all dialed in, because this should get you kicked out. You might have everything on the resume that's relevant. You might be the best person for the position, but just for having crowded space and lacking some of these things, we'll get your resume tossed immediately. Then we have Adam. So Adam's resume, on the other hand, is easier to read than the previous example, right? There's sufficient white space, and the text is not crowded. This resume doesn't include any details about the responsibility or accomplishments at his previous job. Don't assume that your employer reading your resume will know exactly what you did at each job just based on the job title. So you make sure that you are also adding in details and things that you did within each job, so they can be able to keep in mind all the skills that you have. And again, you don't want to only put your accomplishments. Be creative. Think about certifications. Think about awards, volunteer work, part-time jobs, and continuing education, classes that you may be qualified for in the future, or classes that you're taking that make you more qualified for the position in the future. Welcome in, welcome in. And then here we have, let's take a look at Titus. So you may have found some of the colors in Titus' resume distracting depending on your industry. It may be acceptable for you to use different colors. However, too many colors can be distracting to an employer. Also, some of the font types in the resume might be difficult to read. It's best to stick to one easily readable font throughout your resume. Okay? Also, you want to keep in mind, depending on your geographical location and the type of job you're applying for, a photo might work for the resume. But if you're going to use a photo, y'all, make sure it's an appropriate photo and that it's professional. Also, you want to make sure that it's legible and you can actually see it okay. As you see, Titus's photo is a little blurry, which is not good. If you're going to add a photo, which you don't have to most of the time, but if you are going to, make sure it's a good, nice, professional photo. Also, which is very important, we have to watch out for typos, y'all. It's very important when you're looking at a resume. I'm sure you probably noticed this typo, but you got to make sure that you take that extra time. It's a lot of tools out there that you can use to make sure that your resume is grammatically correct and the spelling is correct. Okay, so take the time to do that. So this is pretty much just going through. You can use templates. Nowadays, it's a lot of different ways where you can use templates and stuff like that to be able to kind of get perfect format on what you want to do when you're doing your resume. So always encouraged to utilize a template of some sort. I'm just kind of just going through how to utilize a template, but we all pretty much are aware of how to use a template, but just make sure that you use a legible template that it kind of has all of the things that we talked about. Okay, moving right along. So now we want to make sure that we are talking about how to highlight your skills and accomplishments. I think it's very important in a really good resume. So you want to keep in mind, your resume is not a comprehensive list of all your jobs that you've ever done. Include your most recent work experience, y'all. So each application or each resume should be geared towards the job that you're going for. So when you're doing your resume, eliminate previous jobs that aren't relevant to the one you're applying for. And again, you don't only have to just put professional stuff. People like to see that you're a well-rounded person. Include volunteer or part-time jobs that showcase your qualifications. Okay, so we're going to do another quick challenge, okay? So let's practice deciding which opportunities you might include on your resume and which you should eliminate. Imagine you're applying for the sales representative position that we talked about earlier, and you've had the work experience listed on the left: wait staff, cashier, volunteer work, bank teller, babysitting job, and freelance blogging. Okay, so this is what we're going to do, y'all. Take 2 minutes to review and think about these positions. If you'd like to share in the comment box, go ahead. If not, it's fine. You can keep it to yourself. But pretty much just tell me what you would and why. Why you would and why. Okay, which jobs did you include? Which ones did you decide to leave off? You may have a different opinion than others who are writing their comments. That's okay. Let's talk about some of the skills we could have pulled from each of these positions and how you might include them on your resume for the sales representative position. Okay. So what we want to think about is, look, so for a wait staff position, you might have been tasked with upselling customers you were waiting on. Anything from telling them about the desert, from telling them about specific accomplishments to their meal could be viewed as upsell activity. So if you're going for a sales representative job, pretty much what this is showcasing is that, like, you might think that you're in a position that's not relevant, or a job that you did prior, and you think that some of the skills that you've gained wasn't relevant, but actually they could be. So you want to make sure that you keep in mind of all the things you did in the grand scope of the past jobs you had that will make you most qualified for the job you have now. Let's move right along. Again, so many people need to take time off from the workforce for a variety of reasons, including caring for loved ones, furthering their education, or loss of work due to economic downturn. If you have a gap in your work history for any reason, whether for months or years, you might want to highlight the education or volunteer work that took place in part during that time. You can also describe the experience and skills you gained through managing a household, learning a new language or culture if you traveled, or anything else to show your growth, even when you weren't employed. So essentially, even if it's gaps in your resume, fill in some stuff. Make the employer still see that it was stuff going on, or tell them how just some of your life experiences and things that you were doing, how you can make you more qualified for a position as well. So don't ever stress too much about having gaps in your resume. It's always things that you can do to rectify that. Also, you want to make sure that we're including continuing education, additional coursework, certificates, and workshops. I think this is very important. You might not always feel like you have the skills to go after a position, but you also have to remember that as long as you are showing that you are trying to learn some skills, that might almost be just as good, sometimes better, than someone who already feels like they have the skills, especially in certain industries where it's always changing and new things are coming up. So always make sure that you are keeping in mind, different coursework, certificates, and workshops, especially for our students out there. I know sometimes it's kind of overwhelming, feeling like you don't have a lot to put on your resume, but trust me, it's okay. Just make sure to highlight some of the work that you're putting in and skills that you're gaining for the future. All right along there, had a few hiccups. Let's keep it going forward. So we want to make sure that we are highlighting how to cite specific examples and measurable details. This is, I think, probably the most important part. So this part is pretty much, I like to call showing impact, okay? What specifically have you done, and how has it impacted your coursework? How has it impacted your coworkers, your team, or the company? Lots of people will have words like innovative, organized, efficient leader, and effective communicator on their resumes. But how can you show these qualities instead of just using these phrases? Okay? So we want to make sure that we are highlighting in our resume specific projects you worked on, improvements you made, processes you developed, goals you obtained, your impact in numbers, awards, and recognition. Okay? So we want to make sure, I like to say, we want to make sure that we are being measurable, meaning we want to use data to be able to show our impact. Okay? Very important. So we'll do another challenge here. But pretty much we want to show how we can show impact using data, okay? So this time, I'm going to show you examples of work experience that you might include on your resume. For each example, list the kinds of measurable details and specific examples you might include in your resume, if this was your resume, okay? Again, we're going to use our example as if you're a sales representative position. So you might include descriptions like managed a team, trained new employees, ran meetings effectively, and sold more than your sales target. Okay, so in the comment or in the chat box or back home, I want you guys to show data using managed team, trained new employees, ran meetings effectively, or sold more than sales target. How will we turn these into measurable examples? I would add the number of people on the team I managed. Thank you. Perfect. I like that one. Yes. Adding the number of people that you trained. Ran meetings effectively. For myself, I probably would be how many meetings did I run effectively? What did we do? Yep. Exactly. Mention whom that is, who the sales target was. Yes, I think that's very important. And sold more than the sales target. How much more? You know, I think that's very important. So we just always want to keep in mind that we're using data. I think this is probably the most important part of your resume. You want to use data. You want to show how effective you were through numbers. On my resume, every single line has a number. So if we take a look at this one, so it uses that same thing. Here's just one example of what your resume might look like once you've added those material details. Instead of the managed team, you might say manage a team of 8 employees from new hires to 15-year company members. You might say that you've trained 15 employees in 2 years. Also, you might say, you might specify that you ran weekly team meetings and that 20 people typically attended. You can also include details about what those meetings were usually about, so on and so on. Also, it has one that says exceed individual sales target by 20%. Selling 20 widgets over the company, set a goal of 100. You know, these are all things that make your resume more measurable. Very important. So this time, let's do the same thing with these, but let's do it for a volunteer experience. How can you show that these are more measurable? In the chat box or back home. Any idea? All right, cool. So essentially, what you can do is, like I said, again, served meals to over 200 sheltered residents every other week for 6 months. Okay. Worked with co-op director Janice Murray to coordinate the shelter holiday party. Obtained $2,000 from local businesses to fund the party. Prepared over 200 pounds of fresh food donations and decorated the community center for the event. Okay, so these are all things that you can do. This is how you make sure that your resume is, has measurable details and uses data. Okay. All right, cool. So we'll skip that part, and we'll move right along to how to tailor your resume to the job description. So earlier we talked about how businesses use screening or applicant tracking software to narrow the pile of possible candidates before a manager even looks at them. These computer programs scan the resumes for keywords that are in the job description. If those words don't appear often enough in the resume, or if the skills you highlight don't match the job description, the program determines that the person is not a good candidate for the position. Even if the employer is not using applicant tracking software, people also tend to scan resumes for keywords. You'll be most successful when your resume matches the language of a job description. Okay, so we want to keep in mind that when we're using keywords, when we want to make sure that when we're reading the description for the job, that we're using some of the same language, same keywords that's in there. So let's go through this challenge, y'all, together. Let's take a moment to complete one more challenge. So I want you guys to reread the job description we used earlier. Jot down a few words from the job description that you would incorporate into your resume if you were applying for this position. So make sure we want to make sure that we pay attention to the action verbs, industry phrases, and other important terms that you see in the job description too. So what will we actually be doing if you get the job? Include specific experiences that illustrate how you did this task in previous jobs. Also look at the characteristics or skills that are mentioned in the description. Take 1 minute to review this job description and think of words you'd incorporate in your resume. Okay, so I want you guys to scan through this, look through it, see what action verbs you'll find, industry phrases, and important terms from this description that you would put on your resume to make sure that if a job sends you this description, you have some of the similar phrases and keywords. So what comes out, we'll highlight. See if you could put it in our chat box, or back home, keep a note and make sure that you do this practice as well. So take a look. Can we see any key phrases that we would take from this job description and put in our resume? Okay. Give it one more second. Okay, managed, presented, designed. There you go. Okay. Good. Good. Okay, let's see what they say. So here are some of the keywords, y'all. Sales associate. Manage, like you said, perfect. Sales cycle. Identifying sales needs. Expanding new markets. Okay, so essentially, when we get our resume, we want to have some of this same stuff in it. Okay? We want to make sure that we have some of these same phrases, some of these same verbs, and some of these terms, okay? Good. All right. So as we wrap up, let's take a second to quickly highlight the 4 strategies that we just went over in this workshop. We began looking by taking some examples of resumes to see what hiring managers look for. Then we examined 4 strategies for improving your own resume. So we looked at how to choose a professional format, try to achieve balance so your resume doesn't look too crowded, too busy, or too empty. Using a template to help with formatting, starting with the resume template can help. All right, we also looked at how to highlight your skills and experience, including only your most relevant and recent experiences, very important. We also talked about how to cite specific examples and measurable details clearly and completely explain your achievements and skills rather than just mentioning them. Good, okay? Remember, we want to make sure that we are using measurable details, very important. Finally, we also talked about tailoring your resume to the job you want, using keywords from the job description to impress your resume through screening programs and employers, okay? Cool. So make sure you can use these strategies as a checklist when you're revising your own resume. Okay. So make sure you keep these in mind. Take a screenshot of this, or we will have our recording back up on YouTube, and I'll send you guys some more info following up this webinar. But these are pretty much this is the steak and potatoes right here. Just to keep in mind, I did want to, before I let you guys go, I wanted to leave you off with a few resources that you can use, okay? There are many other digital tools that you can use that can help you with the job application process as well. We've already mentioned resume templates, but you can also use some other tools that helps organize information for your resume. You can use digital documents to keep a running list of all the things you might consider under work experience. That might include part-time and full-time jobs. So you want to, there's plenty of different tools out there that you guys can utilize. Do some research. Also consider some of these that can really help tighten up your resume and make it even better. I think another really good one is a digital tool that you can use is your spreadsheet to keep track of your application process. As you see here, it kind of shows, so pretty much as you apply to different jobs and find out positions you like to apply for, you can keep track of those in a spreadsheet. I think that's very helpful. For myself, I utilize that as well. Finally, you can compile a digital portfolio in Google Slides, okay? So when you build these projects in Google Docs, Sheets, or Slides, you can access them from any device of your Google applications, okay? So pretty much Google has a plethora of different tools that you can utilize that can help you with your resume other than just templates, okay? It's a lot of different stuff that you can use Google for. That can really help you kind of hone in on having the best resume that you possibly can. So, pretty much today consisted of a review of possible resume templates in Google Docs, template gallery. Always feel free to use a template. It's very helpful. When using templates, you want to choose one that is best for your industry and style. You want to examine your current resume and find places to include specific examples and measurable details. And then also you want to make sure that you're keeping a running list of experiences that you can use to tailor your resume for different positions, okay? So we pretty much hit on all that stuff today. So I'll kind of just click through these quickly, but I did want to take some time to thank you guys all for being here as we kind of wrap up. But here are some resources, again, that you can use. You can check out Google Careers on YouTube. It kind of gives you a lot of tidbits on what stuff you can do. And also there are Google Career certificates. So other than your resume, some of these certificates can really help you kind of just boost it up, make it look good. I actually took IT support certificate. I have one of those. So all of these are really helpful when you're trying to land, especially that first job, just to show that you kind of already got some experience. They also have a lot of free online training and tools on google.com/grow. So take a look at some of that stuff. It's very interesting, some of the stuff that you'll find there. Again, I just want to thank you all for being here this morning. We truly value your feedback. If you want to take a moment to share your thoughts, we'd appreciate that. You can access the survey at g.co/grow/feedback here. So leave us a little note, leave us a little survey, and show us how you like this Grow with Google for today. Again, thank you so much. Can't wait till next time. I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye, y'all. Go ahead and feel free to log out, and I will see you. See you. Peace out. Go ahead and end it, y'all. Thank you so much for coming.